the home of Principal High Court Judge, Lady Justice Lydia Achode, who is here now with us to answer to your concerns that have been raised in several stories that we have run earlier. But let me begin with my story because that was the last story that we ran. The concern that the judiciary is not independent. At what point would you ever consider the judiciary completely independent? Because it's been said that one of the reasons that the judiciary is not independent because the finances that come to the judiciary is still controlled by the treasury. So at what point would you ever consider the judiciary as completely independent?
Thank you. There are different levels of independence for the judiciary. There is the decisional independence and there is the financial independence. Judicial independence is when a judge or a magistrate is sitting in their court, they are under nobody's direction to reach the conclusions that they reach in a matter that they are to determine. Financial independence is the one that has been a bit dicey for us in the judiciary because we always have to go with a begging bowl to get finances which are never enough to serve the people of Kenya. It would look like we are therefore beholden to people, but that's not how it is. We work with what we have.
Okay.
We work with the little that we get to try to serve the Kenyans that we are mandated to serve.
But even if you were to be given the adequate funds, let me say there's a proposal to have 3.5% of the total budget, or 2.5 as it is, because right now it's still really low. Even if you had what you needed, but the money is still being controlled by the executive and the treasury, would you guarantee financial independence of the judiciary at that point?
No, you cannot, because even as we are speaking now, on the paper, the judiciary was given 16 billion. What we keep getting regularly is the recurrent for our expenditure, for paying the emoluments and for running the day-to-day running of the judiciary. But for development, when we have projects that are already in process, for this financial year, the money only got loaded on the IFMIS 2 months ago. Okay. That means we lost 6 months. And in another 2 months, IFMIS will be being shut down, so that you cannot access that money.
So your problem is also with the IFMIS system of getting money.
But you see, IFMIS is it's the people who control IFMIS. IFMIS is just a system. You load in money, you get money. If you don't load in money, the judiciary doesn't get money. So
if they were determined to ensure you get the money, regardless of the bureaucracies, you will still get the money.
All right, because if you can't take 6 months to give us money for contracts that we have already gotten into, for courts that are already being built. And these people, if we stop them because we haven't got money to pay them, we start to run into interest and into a lot of trouble.
Okay, because there are already contracts and commitments, and the judiciary knows how much you need to enforce these contracts. Let's talk about decisional independence, because that's one of the things that has been raised by several people who are concerned about how the judiciary operates. They feel the judiciary is still working at the direction or behest of others. Either the executive, if it's not the executive, are the people who pays the piper. So they call the tune, the judiciary.
I'm not sure even the executive would agree with you that the judiciary is working at its behest, because we have been beaten by the executive itself, with which thinks that we are not doing their bidding. But you see, if you look, let's take, for example, the anti-corruption cases. If, for example, you look at Section 48 of the ASECA, the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, the fine it gives is $1 million. If you worked in a place and you led to the pilferage or loss of 1 billion shillings, the fine provided by the Act is 1 million shillings.
Okay.
So somebody will wonder why this person has been fined only 1 million, but that's what the law provides. Okay. And the judiciary can only interpret the law that exists. The judiciary cannot make up its own and say that you also feel this person needed to be punished a bit more. A little bit more. But you have to go with what's in the law. Like the problems that people have with bail. When we didn't have bail for people who are charged under the robbery with violence or murder, there was no problem. The courts didn't give bail. But now we have come up as the people of Kenya. Yes. And in the Constitution said, under Article 49, 1H, everybody is entitled to bail. So these people are entitled to bail. It is easier to it's more difficult to justify why you cannot give somebody bail. Because you can't just say, because you stole more money than this one, so you don't get bail.
Okay.
Because all of them are innocent until proven guilty.
Which is very interesting, because I want to go to a specific case in terms of the bail and ASECA and corruption. What happened to the Samburu governor? The hefty bail that he was given, it was commuted to something that was affordable at the end of the day. You were just talking about 1 million as a maximum. But if the ideal situation would be, would you be granted the discretion as the judiciary to impose these hefty bails?
1 million is not bail. 1 million is fine once you have been tried and you've been found guilty.
Oh,
but
fine.
for
Okay.
bail, the court has the discretion.
All right. All right. More importantly, Kenyans tonight wants to know, and I'll give you two specific examples in justice protecting the rich. About 2 weeks ago or a week ago, there was this gentleman who was arrested somewhere in the coast with a python in the bag. 2 days, 3 days later, he was already in court, convicted, given a fine of $1 million or a year or so in prison. We have several cases, high profile, and specifically I'll give you for Embakasi East Member of Parliament, who was in court for a while, was given bail, and even the bail money was put in a way that he could afford it over a period of time. Deposit 2.5, pay the rest of a period. Why does this happen? Why is it that some people are afforded this freedom and the other ones are incarcerated immediately? Why does the law behave like that?
You see, I cannot speak about specific cases because, you know, when a matter is before the court, we usually don't discuss it.
Yes.
I would have to have read the actual file to find out the reasoning of that magistrate who gave bail in installments.
But trial has not begun here.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is bail.
Yes.
This other person you're talking about, it's the same question we have been hearing about the Akashas, how they went there and they were tried on the spot. They pleaded guilty. There's a difference if you go to court and you plead guilty, you're dealt with on the spot.
Yes.
If you go to another court and you have to be tried, you could be tried for a year, even two, depending on the magnitude of the evidence. And you see, like corruption cases, the evidence is usually documentary. It's not like robbery, for example, where somebody may have seen somebody being stabbed and their purse taken or something. But this one, it's cartons and cartons of documents.
Yes.
And you must look at each one of them to verify.
So it takes a little longer.
Not a little.
Yeah, it takes
a lot
quite a
of
while.
them. One witness can be in the dock for 3 weeks, one person testifying. Then after that, they are cross-examined by these 7 lawyers because these are people that usually are able to afford lawyers.
But the question is, so that's the process. That's what the legal process ought to be. But then people are watching and asking on the flip side. They go to the US and within 2 months or so, the cases are concluded. What was the difference?
Because that was not a trial. That was a plea taken.
Why could it happen here?
Because the evidence was not brought to court. They were never brought to this court to take plea.
They took a long time in Mombasa, back and forth, shuttling in court.
Let me tell you, Ken.
Yes.
If you come before my court because you are coming to take plea, I will read the charges to you. And if you say that is right, I enter the conviction and I sentence you on the spot, and that's the end of the matter.
Okay.
But these people were never, ever brought to take plea.
Okay.
It was application upon,
Okay.
It was application upon application for extradition. They were not coming to take plea for whatever. There has never been a trial for those people in Kenya.
Okay.
That's what Kenyans should remember.
Right.
That it was never a trial in the courts in Kenya about those people. And when they went to the state, remember the states, they will take even years just investigating you as you go around your business.
Then
by the time they sit you at the table and you look at it, you just plead guilty. They don't carry you, bring you to court, and then start asking us for time. Asking for time now to investigate.
All right.
They do the investigations fast.
I want to go to specific cases now. Cheated out of justice. The people who are watching and who share in those stories really need to know, in the case, for example, of Joel Kamau, who was cheated, what happens to them? Because you have made your ruling, and yet the lawyer has made away with the money. Do they have recourse? We know about double jeopardy, especially on criminal cases. What happens to them who are cheated in justice?
You know, the problem with our country is that people think the police, the advocates, and the probation officer, all the people that work in court are under the court system. They are not. The advocates are not under the Chief Justice or the Judicial Service Commission.
Yes.
Advocates, those people that have been talking, they were complaining about their advocates. They went out there, they got into agreements with these advocates, and the advocates, they are saying, conned them. So they have recourse, but it's not in the court to begin with.
Okay.
It is under the Advocates Complaints Committee,
okay,
which deals with that.
Yes.
And they can also file, but they would have to file a case in court to see whether that contract between them whether that advocate went beyond what they agreed. But the court itself, after it has entered judgment, cannot follow to police the advocates to say you didn't pay your client.
Okay,
but
they can come back to court.
They can file a case.
Another
a case
yes.
if they entered into a contract that the other side did not observe.
Okay.
Yes.
And finally, the justice for sale, the notion that why hire a lawyer if I can buy a judge? Yes.
You see, for that, everybody knows that if you have an issue with a judicial officer, we have the JAC. And it is one of the bodies in this country that really looks after its institution, so that if somebody takes, you saw even, is it about 3 months ago,
yes,
so many magistrates and judges being summoned before the JAC to answer.
Yes,
if somebody makes
cases.
a complaint,
yes,
the JAC does not sit on it. You can complain to the Chief Justice, you can complain to the Chief Registrar, you can complain even to me as the principal judge,
yes,
but the person against whom you've complained must also be given a chance to respond and to be heard. And if the JAC can investigate and find that actually there's substance, that is when, if it's a judge, that is when they usually write and send it to the president
for a tribunal to be formed.
But when people are complaining, but they never took that complaint anywhere, you don't know that there's somebody who's been injured or aggrieved, yet they have never come forward to complain to anybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Principal Judge Lydia Achode, for welcoming us to your home first and for answering all